All right, there we go. I don't know if there's any app developers out there, uh, but I would highly encourage those people to reach out to me because I got a great idea. A new app. You know how there was Angie's List, where if you were trying to hire like a plumber, you could go on Angie's List, deedle Angie's List, and you look up, you know. I don't know if they got compromised. Like I would always hear business owners complain about Yelp or Google reviews. People were trolling the Google reviews, and I always thought, well, aren't you also putting like friends and family up to obfuscating the real reviews? But if there's anybody who knows how to develop an app, reach out to me because I got an idea like Angie's List, where you go and if you wanted to get siding put in, roofing done, your chimney cleaned, you know, have your cats walked, have your pool peed in. I don't know what they did. You know, Angie's List, you could basically look up anything. And I thought, okay, cool idea. You know, we already have Yelp and Google reviews. We already have the white pages. We already had, well, wait, the white pages still exist? I don't think they had reviews, but you know, we already have a whole different modicum, I don't know if that's the right word, of ways to look up reliable sources. But I thought, what about an Angie's List style Google Yelp review, Rotten Tomatoes, hybrid mashup baby app where you could rate? Well, I had two ideas. One section would be managers. You could rate former managers of companies, what they would like to work for, if they were tyrannical, if they actually believed in the words they said, or if they were a corporate stooge, right? So we need an Angie's List for work. Oh, Jesus, Cat. Listen, I know you think you're part Jaguar, but really, you can't do that. God dang, these cats are like acrobatics. So we need an Angie's List. We'll call it, oh, Epstein's already taken. I was going to say an Epstein's List. We can't call it that, so we're going to have to think of another name. But where you can leave reviews for your managers, right? Because they have places like Glassdoor, LinkedIn, where you could leave reviews of what it's like to work at a place. But I'm talking specifically what it's like to work under specific management, you know? Because I keep hearing about CEOs. I was just reading about Nestle restructuring because one of their CEOs was hooking up with a direct report, or I forget how they called it. Basically, they were hooking up with someone who worked for them. And then we seen that video, the Coldplay video, where that dude was cheating on his family, not just his wife, but his kids. And that CEO was hooking up with somebody that worked directly under him. And there's so much nepotism, favoritism, meritocracy. Your efforts aren't rewarded if the boss is hooking up with some chick that works for him. You know, she's going to get the job. So I really felt like if an app developer and I can develop, because I don't want to use ChatGPT or AI, which I could, I guess. Maybe I should just do that. I'd rather work with a human, you know? I don't want to get halfway through the app and, you know, the ChatGPT is trying to usher me off this earth, if you know what I mean. I heard it's got nefarious wisdom, let's just say. Let's just say it's not pro-life. Is that one way you could put it? GPT is not pro-life. But I want to work with an app developer so we can develop a app, a website, not LinkedIn, not Glassdoor, not Angie's List, but one specifically. Again, we can't use Epstein. There's got to be more words that we could name this, because it can't be Epstein's List. That's something that the government won't release because most of the powerful, wealthy people that you've entrusted to run this country are on it. They're pedo pans, as I heard said. But we need to develop an app where we can rate bosses, middle management, the bureaucracy, the day-to-day that you deal with. You know, we can leave them, I don't know what we would leave them, like 5 guillotines. 5 guillotines is the best. No, 5 guillotines would be the worst, and 1 guillotine would be the best. You know, we got to develop some kind of rating system. Netflix already has the thumbs up. I don't even think they give you a thumbs down anymore. I think they just give you thumbs up and double thumbs up. Cheers to freedom, folks. There's your freedom. We're going to get into Robbie Roadsteamer. He's been freed. But I'm talking about my app idea, where not LinkedIn, not Glassdoor, not Angie's List, not Netflix, not Rotten Tomatoes. We're going to allow people to have the freedom to rate their managers, their middle management, their CEO, anybody they've worked under. I think the working classes do that. And I'm trying to develop the name for it. It can't be Epstein's List. I know that's what you were probably thinking. They've already used that. That's already a thing. It can't be the pedo pan list. We got to think of a clever name where workers can go to rate their bosses. And I'm trying to think of a rating system. You know, Rotten Tomatoes has the tomatoes. Netflix has the thumbs up or double thumbs up. I think we do guillotines. I'm open to something else. You know, we're just brainstorming. 1 guillotine means your boss is pretty good. 5 guillotines means, you know, late 1700s France. So, I don't know. If you're a developer, join my Discord, link down below, and let's talk. I don't want to use AI. I'm scared it's going to bully me. All right. Welcome to everybody here. I'm a live streamer. This is live. As somebody previously, I only address this because here in America, we have huge problems. The president has decreed the word huge to now be huge with a Y because he's an idiot. We have huge problems. And we're going to get into all that. But I have to say that this stream is live because once someone asked me, are you live? And I told them, no, this is recorded. I just happened to record me specifically addressing your question at 9:50 a.m. And I do have a touch of psychic abilities. That's how. Don't ask any further questions, please. And we continued on. So, yes, I'm live. And I guess this is called a stream, although I'm guessing Presbyterians would say that's inappropriate, right? I don't know any Presbyterians. I just thought of that word. But I'm guessing they would hear stream and say, you're going to hell. Don't call it a stream. You know, that's something you stand above an in-ground pool and do right into. So, can't call it a stream. And Tim Pool, the really cool culture warrior, he does a culture cast. He makes sure the green M&M is not doing stuff so you can, you know, be paid a fair wage for a fair day's labor. And he does silly things like, you know, gets mad at workers for wanting to afford to live. So I don't know what this is. This is a satirical commentary on everything. And today we're going to talk about some news. Some news. I don't know if you heard my good friend Robbie Roadsteamer, who has many, many characters. One is Gary the Guantanamo Gator. One is Jeffrey the Giraffe. I got to get in touch with Robbie. I got to write him and say, Robbie, I got a new character for you. Pedo Pan. Pedo Pan. When you're protesting these American Gestapo stormtrooper force, maybe we get him we chip in and we get him a Pedo Pan outfit, and he can sing about the Epstein list and that they should release it. But he has since made a video. I'm going to play it for you. He is free from ICE detention. He broke no laws. He was illegally detained. I'm not sure if he was read his rights, but a good lawyer, please get in touch with Robbie and help him sue the United States government, because if you watched the video, you saw how heinous his detention was. He was singing, I'm not sure if it was a Rod Stewart song parody of a Rod Stewart song, and ICE, or military. The military's on the American streets now. The No New Wars president, the president who solved all the wars, is sending the American military into American cities to arrest Americans for singing songs about love and freeing information for the people. But he was detained by ICE. I'm happy to announce he has been freed so far. Let's listen to the video.
Hey, it's Gary the Guantanamo Gator. I am out of the ICE holding cell, and I'm in an undisclosed location so they don't bring me back. I'm on a watch list. Not wearing the giraffe outfit because it's covered with pepper ball shots. Snipers were shooting at me from the roof of the Portland, Oregon HQ ICE headquarters. I'm gonna sue them. My eyes still burn, my throat still burns. I can't even remove the clothes from the backpack.
So he is out. Thank God. Thank God Robbie is out. Again, you can go to Robbie Roadsteamer, at Robbie Roadsteamer on YouTube. You can check out the video of his detention with the military, ICE, the Trump's SS, his, secret police force, come out to the sidewalk and drag him back. Basically kidnap the man. They don't tell him what he's being detained for. They say nothing. And usually, I don't know how to explain this. America was known for having a due process, for having some kind of, I don't want to call them rights, privileges to its citizens, affording privileges to its citizens to not just be captured off the street with no thing being said to them and just being disappeared. Thankfully, it was caught on video. Since in Prim, he's in Portland, so I believe the National Guard is there. You can watch the videos. It was all captured on tape. That's why I'm saying, like, ICE was in the sniper positions, and I think it was National Guard that came out and captured him. Either way, shame on all of you. Robbie Roadsteamer is a peaceful, nonviolent, no political violence he advocates for. Protester, an American, and he is due his rights, and they were violated. We lost all our rights. What's the Patriot Act? Charles, I would encourage you, yes, since Imprim, there's no due process. This Saturday, Resilience and Love, Bunny, appreciate you. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm Rob, Bunny, nice to meet you. I'll introduce you to Grizzly Cadams in a minute, if you hang tight. But Charles, just because some believe, well, the Patriot Act took away all our rights, or due process was taken away once they kidnapped the first person off an American street, it doesn't mean we submit to that. We don't become obedient because of that. In fact, we have a duty as Americans. When we face tyranny, we stand, we speak out, and we do all we can to preserve and claw back our rights. I would encourage you to look to the 1800s, Reconstruction. After the Civil War, the enslaved people were freed, and immediately after that, there were laws in many southern states that, again, took away their freedoms. And it wasn't until 1968 or 1962, forgive me, it wasn't until, I think, 1962, where black people got the right again to vote in America. So something that they went from enslaved to freed to, again, enslaved by laws. And then within 90-something years, 91 years or so, they got that right to vote back. So I would encourage everybody to look through history and see how things were done, what was done, and never submit and never be obedient in advance. Yes, sir, it's our duty as Americans. Thank you, Sinsin Prim. Charles, I don't know if you just, have insecurities where you're like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? And you're probably new here. But I've been speaking out for over 20 years. I've worked at radio for a long time. Um, and I would encourage you to stop questioning other people and start standing with the people. Because other than that, you seem a little sus. You seem a little fashy, as we call them, anti-American. Charles is a grifter. Well, yeah, I would say there's a lot of people, Charles, calling you a grifter. There's a lot of people questioning questioning people trying to educate and help encourage people to stand up. Because what we saw over the past decade is Donald Trump come into office saying absolutely heinous stuff. You know, if him being pedo pan wasn't enough for people to be like, oh, he's a creep and a pervert, he bragged about peeping on girls on Howard Stern. He did an interview in a magazine about how Jeffrey Epstein's been his best friend for a long time. If that wasn't enough to deter you from electing that dude to run the country, then let's just look at some other things. When he mocked someone with a disability.
Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Right there. If you know anybody care about anyone with a disability, you'd go, well, that guy is that insecure Nepo baby coastal elite who got everything from his dad, Fred Trump. That man named Donald isn't fit to lead. No leader should be mocking this disabled. Just not fit to lead. And then, when this leaked,
I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there.
he said, I moved on her like a bitch and I couldn't get there. That's when he said to grab him by the nussy as I call it, because if you didn't see this photo of our president, very embarrassing photo. We've established yesterday, thank you, Alma, this is called a nussy. Because if I do this, you might think you're on an OnlyFans page. You'll go, whoa, 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 guy, inappropriate, cover that. You can't show that on YouTube. And I go, no, don't worry, it's just the president's neck. That's called a nussy. But this pervo, pedo pan, he bragged about SA-ing women without their consent. And the funny thing is there's comedians like Andrew Schultz and Joe Rogan who thought like, oh, that was cool. He was like bragging about stuff, and he was a cool guy. But again, I want to encourage you to listen to the words he says and think about anyone that you think is cool who says this.
I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there.
I moved on her like a bitch. Think about the most Rico Suave dude you know. When he's talking about an encounter with a girl, do you hear him say, I moved on her like a bitch, and people high-five him? This neck nussy, when he brags about himself, he even sounds like a maroon. I moved on her like a bitch, and then he says, and I couldn't get there. And you got Billy Bones, Billy Bush, appropriate name, cheering him on in the background.
Oh, my man.
Oh, Billy Bush. What a reliable character. And then you hear the president.
I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her.
I'm going to use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. And I've said we know that neck nussy, old President neck nussy, we know that he'll sell out the White House. He'll take a jet and give you an Air Force base. He'll turn the White House lawn into a Labor Day sales weekend event for Tesla. And I said, well, listen, there's one right here. It's an obvious one.
I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her.
Right there. Did you hear it? Neckness, he could stand out on the White House lawn, shake some Tic Tacs and say, Tic Tacs. You know, when you're going to move on her like a bitch and not get there. The official mint of just in case I start kissing her without her consent. So how he hasn't seen that, Kristi Noem, get on it. You know, Kristi Noem. Or Pete Hegseth. Did you guys hear Pete Hegseth, the guy who wants everybody to do pull-ups or something? Or shave? He gets Botox. Is Botox allowed in the military? No chubbies, but you're allowed Botox? Okay. He gets Botox, gender affirming care. But yeah, I think that's an obvious one. You know, presidential neck nussy. Just maybe cover this up. Put a G string on or something. You know, maybe put a bra on that. I don't know. JD Vance might try to F it. But just, you know, maybe wear a scarf. Nothing too erotic. You know, Mike Johnson might say, is that a neck bum? Is that a neck vagina? um, but yeah, I don't understand why he hasn't turned the White House into like, you know, sponsored by Tic Tacs, the official mint of moving her on her like a bitch and not getting there. But uh, so we got Christy Gnome with the G. I like it. That was you. These people, stop. I need you to stop supporting Pedo Pan, okay? All over the Epstein files. He wrote a poem for Epstein, a poem. He sent Ghislaine Maxwell to a camp, which I guess if you've heard about that prison, well, the camp that Ghislaine got moved to, it's become a nightmare because she has to be watched all the time. And that camp is like, it has no walls. It's supposed to be very loose, but now the security has to be wicked high because, you know, she's a rat, she's a snitch, she's the lowest on the list. If anybody read her papers, they would probably want to. Moving on.
I moved on her like a bitch.
But I
couldn't
couldn't
get
get there. And Billy Bones is man, Billy Bush. And then like Andrew Schultz and Joe Rogan were like, that's so cool, man. I wish I could move like a bitch and not get there. You know? And then he's like, Tic Tacs, the official mint of predators. Maybe you could do a collab with the new Predator movie, you know? Those aliens aren't the only predators. When you want to chug some Tic Tacs, move on her like a bitch and not get there. Eat a Tic Tac. I don't know if Tic Tac would be open to it, though. Who knows? A lot of the corporates are bending the knee, you know, donating money to this tool. That's what I say. Thank you, Roblox. Oh, so America has huge problems, right? One less problem today. Robbie Roadsteamer is free again. Thank the good Lord, Jesus Christ. Amen. Robbie Roadsteamer is free. And like Jesus said, love your neighbor. Everyone's your neighbor. And right now, Donald Trump is not doing that. The only people he showed compassion and love to is the Argentinian libertarian who pummeled his economy and we have to bail out with $40 billion, and Ghislaine Maxwell. Those are the only two people he shows compassion to. Americans, people in his own party, people who used to work for him. He takes their security. He talks bad about them. He chastises them in public, in private. He forces them to lie. Remember when Pam Blondie was asked the simple question, are there photos of Neck Nussy, President Neck Nussy, with underage girls, which would also be called kids, and them sitting on his lap topless? And she couldn't even say no. She went on this long diatribe of, let me distract you with words so I don't have to answer this, you know. Pam Blondie testifying under oath in front of Congress. Couldn't say no. Could not say no to President Neck Nussy being photographed with topless kids. Couldn't say no. And some of you are still supporting him. I would say that makes you complicit. That makes you complicit. Darren, coffee is 30 a can. Farmers are going bankrupt. Troops in our cities. Taxpayer dollars going to bail out Argentina. Lost jobs. Economy collapsing. All caused by this kakistocracy. I would say all caused by a neck nussy. This is what happens when you're so insecure. You know, is he getting Botox? I don't think so. We know Peter Hegseth gets Botox. That's the reports. That he's getting Botox. Oh my God, that's so funny. You know why that's funny? because Pete, if you missed it, he called in all the military leaders from around the world, and everybody was saying, "Ooh, this is a security threat. Like, you shouldn't have them all in one place. Can you do this by Zoom or email?" And he was like, "No, very important." And he called everybody in, and I think I didn't really see it. He ripped open his button down, and it said, "No fat chicks," and he said, "No more fat chicks," and he was like, "Rah, rah, rah, no more fat chicks." And then he did a keg stand, and he went, "Rah," and he did this huge burp. And he was like, "No beards, no fatty boombalatties. The military is manly again." And then he was like, "What time is my Botox appointment?" And they were like, "Your gender affirming care, sir? It's at 2:30. You have in half an hour." And he was like, "I'm out of here, you lames." And he ran off, after doing a keg stand. And what else did he do? What other frat boy things did he do? Oh, after he tore open his button-down shirt that said "No fat chicks," asterisk American military, he tore open that shirt, and it was John Belushi's college shirt. I think that's how it all happened. And then he did like Paranaway, Paranaway, na na na. He did some Brazilian capoeira in honor of Javier Milei, and he did like this, Eddie Gordo. And then he did a keg stand directly from there. And then he said, "Shave your beards, F words." He used the slur. And then he said, "I don't know if the moon landing was real, and I'm pretty sure Earth was flat." And he fucking ran out of there and went right to his Botox, and they were Botoxing his ass. He was like, "I need to have the tightest ass." And they were, psh, 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 psh. And the neck nussy came in. Old President Neck Nussy. If you don't know what that is, just think of a neck starts with N, and there's another word that I don't want to say. It's not presidential language. I can say bullshit all day. YouTube legally, I think, now has to allow me to say it because the president said bullshit. And once that happens, that's presidential language, just so everybody's aware. That's how it works in America. Once he says it, then it becomes presidential language. So once my kids start saying bullshit, I go, look at them. They're going to be little presidents. They don't really have that predator quality, that Peter Pan quality, but, they're speaking like a president. And all schools now have to put bullshit as an anti-woke word, and every kid can say it because they're just, they're vying for presidency. So then Eknasi came out and he talked to the military. But we got a real problem. Some of you don't think this is a problem. Some of you were like, "Hey, I'm an old white guy or a young white guy, so I'm fine." Silly you. A lot of people are calling you stupid. A lot. But I say listen, this isn't stupid yet. It's a learning opportunity. That's what I teach people. I say, you're not a moron yet. This is a learning opportunity. Take the learning opportunity, because after that, by law, you're labeled a moron. We got a lot of problems, folks. A lot. Oh, did you see this? Oh, President Reagan, good to see you. Did you see this? Just so we're clear. Trump, $6 billion on Netanyahu. I believe it's more. 20 billion on Argentina. Oh, that one got bumped up to 40 billion. 5.9 billion on Musk's SpaceX. Oh, he's so rich. Use your own money, jerk. 649 million on National Guard deployment. 85 million on golf. But he won't spend a penny on protecting healthcare for Americans. I don't want to hear anybody saying immigrants getting healthcare. Do you know how America works? Americans can hardly afford healthcare. They're not giving healthcare out. This isn't Norway. This isn't Canada. This isn't Spain. This isn't Israel. This isn't most of the industrialized world. This isn't Madagascar. America doesn't give healthcare. I encourage you to just read the healthcare insurers, read the health CEOs' statements, how they're trying to cut down on unnecessary care. Have you ever gone to the doctor? Well, maybe Pete Hegseth has gone to the doctor and said, like, "I need Botox." And they were like, "Well, that is unnecessary care. That's just gender affirming." But have you ever gone to the doctor and your doctor's like, "You need this"? And health insurance was like, "Unnecessary care." They're not handing out fucking medical procedures. They're not giving anything out. You're being lied to. Anybody who says that, I boot you out of the chat. But he won't protect our health care for any American. They ain't handing out healthcare in America. Don't be an idiot. But this is the article I linked down below. The Brutality is the Message. Why America's Violence Against Immigrants Isn't About Immigration by Tom Hartman. Tom with the TH. Interesting spelling. I like it. And we're going to read that article. Since in, Donnie is a thin-skinned coward. Not only a thin skin, but I would say like a flappy. I would call him more flappy. Look at this. You think that skin's thin? Imagine he should get a piercing, you know, like a bull ring. Because I don't know if, like, maybe this is just like a new pedo pan Republican GOP Guardians of PDF Files thing. But you know how they all put truck nuts on their truck? You know, like fake testicles that hang down on the back of a truck because, I don't know, to me it just says like you're so insecure that you have to even have your truck have testicles. When I had a truck, she was a girl, and we hung a vagina, you know, we hung a big truck vagina off her. But maybe truck nuts is like 2010. Now it's neck nuts. But those don't look like nuts. It looks like a neck nussy, really, a nussy. So I get that, you know, people think he's thin-skinned, but I would say he's flappy-skinned. And I would also say, if you didn't know what was happening right now, you'd think this was an OnlyFans page, because look at that. That's inappropriate, sir. You need to cover that. There are children that have to look at the president. You know, kids have to look at the president. You need to cover that up. Put a goddamn nightgown on or something, a neck gown. Just put a bra on, sir, something. Oh, J666, thank you, good to see you. Still exist in America, might as well start flying to Mexico to get actual healthcare. J666. The funny thing is when I lived on the border, people would actually go to Mexico to go to the dentist, to go see a doctor, to get their prescriptions. So, yeah, that's really not a joke. That's what, if you live in a border town, because the healthcare is better in Mexico, you can drive across the border, go see a dentist, get your prescriptions. This is very sad. It's very sad. I mean, it's great for Mexico, but it's very sad for America. And if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. We're fighting for this. Outlaw gerrymandering, codify women's right, overturn Citizens United, no more stock trading in Congress, cap congressional salaries. They can't keep giving themselves raises while they keep the federal minimum wage at $7.25. Cap CEO pay, 35 times is enough. No more compensation packages. And down here it says the minimum wage should be $66 an hour. Tax mega churches, tax unrealized gains, universal health care, fair doctrine and media, ranked choice voting, no more electoral college, term limits for SCOTUS. I heard a quote the other day, and I want to share it with you. And take it and share it with a friend. And they share it with a friend, and that's how information works. Where it was said, when the institutions fail, you don't reform them, you replace them. And this will be, people keep talking about this comet, this alien entering our solar system, 3I Atlas, and that we're leaving the age of Aquarius. I believe we're going to the age of something, and probably Mercury in retrograde. I don't know. I watch a lot of these vibe scientists and astronomers, and just I try to get information from all different places, right? And they're talking about how we're going into a new age, a rebirth, all this. We're going to reform all this. And the people like Charles who in here were just questioning the people who question this, or the people who are saying, let's push for better. I say, stand out of the way. If you're not going to help and you're going to be complicit in the crimes against humanity right now, stand the fuck aside, okay? Kindly, please. As Jesus says, love your enemy, love your neighbor. I say, stand the fuck aside. Because some of us envision, we're not thinking inside the box. We're not saying, let's just protect the status quo. Some of us aren't saying, well, it's been done before, so let's keep doing that. Some of us are saying, there's countries around the world that have great healthcare systems, and they have a couple problems with it. We're going to steal from that, and we're going to implement that kind of healthcare in America. So nobody has to go without a wheelchair. Nobody has to go without a medical procedure. No one has to go broke because they got cancer. We are going to recreate this country to serve the people. Not the oligarchs, not the Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, the Donald Trumps, the Nepo babies, you know, the rich kids, the brats. But when it comes to problems in America, right now what you're seeing, and I encourage everybody to read this, it's down below. Every raid, every body slam to the pavement is a public ritual meant to teach us obedience. The goal isn't enforcement, it's submission. Just like the media tries to normalize you to what the American culture is, the lamestream media, even Tim Pool, Joe Rogan, they want you to just think. 20 years ago, Joe Rogan would kind of question things. He's never been a comic. He steals his jokes from Brendan Schwab. Um, but at least he questioned things. Now he just says, these people say, I trust the government. I trust the politicians. Just they can do what they say. And then they go, oh, I was tricked. This is what I vote for. And I say, you're complicit. You're complicit. Because we all knew, or most of us knew, that Peter Pan was not going to help us. And what is happening now is they're trying to normalize you to this kind of horrific stuff. If you've seen the videos of them kidnapping kids off the street, kids walking home from school, there are videos, many, many videos, and it discusses in this article. What they're trying to do is get you to be normalized, to be okay with it, to understand that this is just how America is now, because then it will be turned on you. I know some of you think, well, I'm a 60-year-old white guy. No way. It will. And you go, some of you are saying, well, I'm a 21-year-old white guy who, proudly is a whatever. I call it ass hattery, but you can say Charlie Clan fan. They'll turn it on you. They don't care. Here's a good measure. I was talking about an app I'd like to develop where you can rate your bosses, kind of like a Glassdoor meets Angie's List, but it's just for workers to rate their bosses and their managers. I always tell people, if you want to know what it's like to work somewhere, ask somebody who's been there the longest, and then ask somebody who just left or has left for a little bit. Because if you find out how somebody who's left and who's worked there the longest, you'll get a good gauge of what that company's like. And if you look at anybody who's worked for Donald Trump, he usually talks a lot of He removed John Bolton's security access. He is a spiteful, vengeful, petty little tyrant who's very insecure, and don't forget, he's got a neck nussy. That's inappropriate. Kids shouldn't have to see this. Look at that. I mean, children might be watching the president. Please, sir, cover that up. So he will turn on you. He doesn't care. He called his supporters weak and stupid. He specifically told them, I don't care about you, I want your vote. And the Arkansas farmers are finding out the hard way. I watched one of them crying on camera saying, sir, you said you loved us. We need to see the fruits of that love. And I thought, what a moron. What a poor, unfortunate moron. He got tricked by Donald Trump. So many people have. But before we get into this article and how he talks about living in Germany in the 80s and how things would have happened, and the immigration office would have dropped by, and he even talks about the local police officer and their training, incredibly professional, having to graduate the 3-year program and undergone what's typically a year-long probation period before they can publicly handle a firearm. That sounds very civilized. That sounds decent. Alma, good to see you. But before we get into that, I wanted to bring up another huge problem in America. Hold on, is this? No. But think about that. That is a huge problem. But this one, I keep seeing these AI ads on YouTube for Clashy. And I said, I pray to God this isn't what I think. I pray to God that these AI-generated ads, this AI slop, isn't trying to promote me into just betting on events, like world events. Like America is so addicted to addiction that now they're even like, hey, we could just create AI slop videos and try to get Americans to bet on the weather, crypto market, not invest in crypto, bet on where it will go, bet on how much rain it will get, bet on what song will be the top, bet on what movies will be #1, bet on apps. This is a very bad sign that Americans are not doing well. We ain't healthy. If a country, is now selling you on, no joke, what are the Netflix markets? Well, I would say stop. Stop right there. There's no Netflix market. It's not a thing. You made it up to rob people, to take from people. And because we have a meme coin president with a neck nosy, because he even launched a meme coin, these people are more emboldened than ever to take working people's money. They say, oh, what are the Netflix markets? Well, nothing. It's nothing. This is not a thing that exists. It's something they created for you to bet on and probably lose that money. Kalashi offers markets where traders can predict both the top TV show as well as the top movie. I don't even need to read anymore. This is a real thing that's being pushed all over YouTube. And why? Just like when Donald Trump said, I moved on her like a bitch and couldn't get there, it emboldened Joe Rogan and Andrew Schultz and Theo Vaughn to just be these asshats, to just have the worst qualities come out and feel emboldened. He emboldened the racist, the misogynist, the PDF files. He emboldened those people. Just Google Republican caught in that kind of crime. Many stories will pop up. Just look at why Grindr keeps crashing wherever all the Republicans get together, because he emboldened them, not to ensure justice has happened or to enshrine rights for marginalized people, but embolden them in the worst way to be hypocrites, to try to chastise those people while they themselves maybe even partake in it. And I would say he also emboldened this. When the president launches a meme coin before he's inaugurated and does a rug pull on his own citizens, the people who voted for him to represent them, and not a lot of us, the majority of us didn't. He got 49% of the vote, and even out of that, a lot of people got duped, which we need to educate America. But even the half of the country that did, and the small sect of the country left, like the 17% of registered Republicans that still support him because he's underwater and everything, he felt it was okay. And I always feel like that's the worst abuse of power, when the people like Mr. Beast or Logan Paul, when they know that there's vulnerable minds, clearly vulnerable if you're a fan of any of them, vulnerable minds who are very impressionable, who are looking for a place to belong. If they're supporting you and you turn around and run a meme coin on them, or a zoo token, or some kind of scam, if you're doing that, to me, you're kind of the worst person. You're abusing the vouching. They vouched for you, and you're abusing that. And you're not even abusing it in their name. You're abusing them, the people who vouched for you, who wanted to support you. It's just the worst kind of grift. And I feel like because we have a meme coin president, he launched a meme coin, a rug pull, and he made billions off of it. Apps like this feel emboldened that they'll never be prosecuted if we find out. I have no idea. I don't know much about this. I just keep seeing the ads that said, I got to look this up because this can't be what I think it is. AI slop can't be telling me ooh, you can bet on who's getting elected. You can bet on what Netflix show is going to be popular. This is rubbish. We 100% are not doing well as a country. So when we're talking about huge problems, this is one of them, and that app where they're trying to get you to bet on how much it's raining in New York, I would say, are telltale signs that we're not doing well. But seriously, I encourage you all to read this Tom Hartman article I linked down below. He goes through his history, what gives him, some kind of credibility to speak on this. Living in Germany in the 80s, how, nobody would have smashed in the windows of my car, shot him with pepper balls or rubber-colored bullets, or snatched our 3 children, put them into privatized Christian foster care system, which thousands of kids simply vanish from. It's not very Christian if you're disappearing kids. You should read about what Christ says about anybody who makes a child stumble and fall, lose faith. Jesus, if you don't know, he says it'd be better for you to put a millstone around your neck, one so heavy a donkey would have to pull, and walk into the sea or be thrown into the sea. And then again, those same people voted for Pedo Pan. So I don't know. Cerebral pugilist. All the maggots complaining about your content, but where are they? Here, hate watching. Yeah, they're idiots. Just ignore them. Most of them are bots. They're bots, or they're these Charlie Clan antagonists.
It's a trap!
I just say they're really, they're the people who cheered Trump on when he.
Now the poor guy, you gotta see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Do you think we're babies?
They're bots from
Azerbaijan and Albania.
And it's weird because
Enigmas never age.
enigmas never age, and they're always in here. Just ignore them. At least they'll be for account. And again, they were emboldened by a racist, misogynist, nepo baby, coastal elite, grifter, scam artist, who's in the gold house, who has a neck nussy. And just like the young Republicans we talked about yesterday that had that racist Telegram chat, that hate-filled racist Telegram chat that didn't even apologize, they're losers. They're losers looking to belong. And the only way they can belong, because most of them are scared to show their personality. Hold on, I'll make my point. I'm gonna make my point right now. Say hi to Grizzly Catums. Say hi, Grizzly Catums. Say hi, Grizzly Catums. And just wait. We'll just wait. It's gonna happen in the comments. It's gonna happen. Dirty Mike, why are you wearing a beanie indoors? Because Donald Trump made electricity rates go up so much we can't afford heat. Lottie Reed says cutie. Okay, so we know. The word racist 100% has a meaning. It does. But good try. Good try. Words don't mean anything anymore. We know that Donald Trump has tried to make words not mean anything anymore, mostly because he doesn't understand them. Marina, anyone who says the economy is better is full of shit because those aren't facts. Yes, thank you. Fact with heat. Yeah. Donald Trump. Electricity is way more expensive. It's freezing. Can't afford to heat my home. We have 3 jobs in my house, and I do YouTube, and I'm looking for a 4th job, and still can't afford heat. So have we even said thank you yet? But don't worry, the Argentinians are getting bailed out. Billy, oh, there it is, and there it is. Billy bit his tongue. He's probably been here before, and Billy said he's waiting for someone to call him a wimp for having a cat. No, I'm waiting for someone to go, figures, he has a cat. And it happens every time. It happens every time. And that's my point. It makes my point. My electricity doubled here. Oh, I hate hearing that. I've written Lot or Lottie, I don't know how to pronounce that. There it is. See, the people. It's funny though, because these people are so predictable. Mostly because they don't have a personality, because they wait for Donald Trump, so they could just regurgitate like baby birds being fed by Donald Trump, whatever he says. But they have some of their own quips, some things they feel confident in. One of those is, I'm scared of cats. And I display it by saying, oh, we're waiting for someone to call him a wimp for having a cat. You do it all the time, and it's fine. But really what it shows is they have no personality. They're deathly afraid of cats. They would never own one because that would question their manhood. That's what it says to me. And Tom, some people are allergic, and I totally respect that. Back when I was kind of an asshole, I used to say when I was younger, because I had an asshole side, I would say, if you're allergic to things, that's God telling you, maybe you shouldn't be here. But I've changed. I've had compassion. I've said, you know what? I shouldn't have that ick. That's wrong. And it's not people's decision to be allergic. See how I can learn and change? Mostly I would say it on the radio because I was joking and trying to, ignite a reaction. But I still said it. I hold myself accountable for that. So Tom, even if, you're a Republican, I don't believe that about you. And maybe I'd make that joke. Let's see who says what in the comments. But like that other MAGA, I'm guessing, the pedo pan supporter said he's waiting for someone. They were biting their tongue. Trust me. They were dying to write it because every single time, you can go back through all my lives, somebody always says something. And all that says, it shows. It shows why all these dudes support ICE. It shows why they're in these racist telegrams, is because they're so scared to be themselves. Just like Pete Hegseth, he wanted to lecture everybody about a beard and being fat, and then turned around and got Botox, a gender-affirming care. They're scared to just say like, hey, you should be able to be okay with this. Hey, what they say to me is, I can't have a cat because guys will make fun of me. And I say, that's a horrible way to live your life, caring so much about people saying stuff or teasing you that it dictates your life. But yesterday we talked about the young Republicans and their racist, misogynist, anti-Semite, what was the other thing? It was just hate-filled. I just call it hate-filled. And when we looked at the pictures of all these dudes, they were like 30-something-year-old losers. Losers. I usually wouldn't look at people and call them a loser, but these dudes were losers, especially after reading the content of their secret chat. They were losers. And I said, it's sad. This is why we developed the word incel. This is why there's a male loneliness epidemic, because these people are scared to be themselves, which is ironic because online, who cares? You could just, J666, young Republicans, just mustache man's youth. Yes, it's the young. They had something like that in the 30s, I believe, in Germany. Thank you for the super chat, J66. Tom, yeah, I'm talking about these alt-right Trump-tards, yes. I'm talking about them because really they're so scared to be who they are, to just own a cat. And if their friends tease them, go, okay. Not enough people are okay with being themselves. So what they find, like Donald Trump, what he found was I can say hateful things and bind people over their of others. That's what their solidarity is. They come together over their fear and hatred of others. Not like people who join a book club who love reading. Not like people who have cats who are like, oh, you got a cat, or have a dog, or dog and cats, Not people who, come together in any other sense of community. Their whole community is built on having an enemy. That's it. There's Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder's, Matt Walsh, Tucker Carlson. That's their whole grift. That's their whole scam. Their charade is up. Without an enemy, they have nothing. They don't believe in anything. I know some people say, oh, well, they believe in conservative values. Really? The guy who's had 3 wives, 5 kids, who knows? Cheated on all his wives, moved on women like a bitch while he was married and couldn't get there, put Tic Tacs in just in case he started kissing her, owned pageants so he could creep and peep on the girls in the back. That guy is your conservative values hero? Really? Mike Grinder Johnson is your conservative? It's a facade. They can't be themselves. They can only align themselves with hatred and fear of alleged enemy. And this is why this is working on them. Again, highly encourage you to... Petey, we all know what a woman is. It's somebody who covers their drink when you walk by. If you're pretending like gender fluidity has anything to do with workers not being able to buy a house, the age of a home buyer being now 38 years old, where just a couple decades ago it was 21, if you're pretending that anything with gender has to do with the working class suffering, that people are going broke instead of getting healthcare, that the healthcare profits and the CEOs are talking about unnecessary care, well, they're not even providing care anyways, how they're using AI to deny claims that doctors are saying my patient needs. If you think for any fucking second, hold on, I'm gonna find the doctor's tweet. I had to save this because these morons are so moronic that they're just dumb morons. United Healthcare just denied a claim on one of my patients in the ICU with brain hemorrhage, in a coma, on a ventilator, and heart failure because I haven't proven to them that caring for her in the hospital was medically necessary. Tear it all down. If you're pretending like, oh, we really got to fight the real battles, family bathrooms, which have existed way before whatever, drag story hour. Like, I want you to hear how insecure you are that you think this is a battle in America in the year of our Lord 2025. I grew up with Robin Williams playing drag in Mrs. Doubtfire, with Mighty Ducks 1 and 2 having a girl on both Olympic squads in the guys' locker room, and no one gave a shit. We weren't sensitive snowflakes like you are, going, that's my number one pressing issue. I can't poop in front of girls. Like, just say that. Say, I'm so terrified to poop in front of a girl, I don't know what to do, and I need the government to regulate it. Like, say that, and then we'll go, oh, we have compassion for this poor, sensitive soul. Like, say what you really want. But the whole woman thing, the thing that Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and Tim Pool all have basically sold you hook, line, and sinker, and they've made a ton of money, and they go to the bank every day off your fear and your sensitivity, your ego, and your fragileness. They're cashing in on it. And if you think that is going to help the farmers in Arkansas, whew, you're a dumb boy. Dumb boy. I also wouldn't trust the people who say, well, what is a woman? While they're hiding the Epstein files because Pedo Pan is president. Oh, Carasoto. Good to see you for the baby hyenas. Oh, thank you so much. Hold on, let me grab. So you've been here. Listen, tell me if you like this name. I was chilling the other day, hanging out with my favorite one, and this baby hyena, it struck me like a lightning rod. I said, we got to name him Grizzly Catums. Right? He's probably going to get a new name when he goes to a home, and I also believe you can't name a cat. Good luck. What, are they going to sit for you? You don't name a cat. They just are. They're anarchists, and some of them socialists. Watch out for the comrade cats. But what do you think? What do you think? Grizzly Catums. Hold on. He's right here. He's so funny. He's always hanging out with me. Come here, Grizz. Look, Grizzly Catums. How funny. Doesn't he look like a grizzly? No, he doesn't look like a Grizzly Catums, but I just thought that was such a great name. Grizzly Catums. You're such a good boy. You're such a good boy. Look at this little boy. All to bring your skiddly beeboot away. Everything the light touches will be yours. Look at it. He's so funny. He'll just gob. The price of housing doubled under the past administration. Do you know who was president before Biden? Do you? Do you? It's okay. I know. Gob thinks, Biden made housing go up. Doesn't look into who's buying all the assets of housing. During the pandemic, who got all that money that the government shelled out? Rich people. Working people spent it on rent and groceries. My whole joke during that time was, ooh, they don't know we're retiring off of this $2,000. We all are saving it and we're going to retire. They don't realize that when you follow the money, it ends up in the richest people's hands. Why? Because they don't have to spend any savings or go broke or live paycheck to paycheck buying groceries, spending it on rent or a mortgage. Their houses are paid off. So what happened under all these governments, again, get some class consciousness. I don't think all blue is going to save us, but at least they're not going to be fascist dictators sending private police to our cities. Hey, 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 hey. You leave Grizzly Catums alone. Oh, poor little guy. Buddy. They would be mean. I don't remember what we were talking about. Whatever. Research how many apartments. Desi, thank you. One. Hey, leave him alone. 1 in 5. Sorry. For every homeless person, there are 5 empty units of housing in America. There's our solution, guys. But you should look into corporate landlords. You should look into who's buying all of this. BlackRock, Blackstone, all these corporate landlords, which the UK even... Hold on. Hey! Hey! Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. You leave him alone. Don't you be mean. You don't get to be mean to him. Hey, buddy. You okay? You go have fun. Oh, he's just trying to play. You don't get to be mean. Follow the money to rich people. Thank you, Chief. Good to see you, Chief. Good to see you, Chief. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. No, you're gonna leave him alone. But just look that up. The UK is fear-mongering, saying we could end up like America, where we have corporate landlords buying up. In Florida, Blackstone or BlackRock bought up a whole town just to rent it back. And who do you think... Listen, I didn't like Biden, but he, again, wasn't sending the military. He was a strike breaker. I don't like Biden. He broke a road strike, and then look at East Palestine, Ohio. But Donald Trump is clearly in the Epstein files. Like, clearly. I draw a much harder line in the concrete over that. So stop playing politics with this and start understanding there's one, a fascist tyrant who's a pathological liar, and there's other one who just wasn't good for the working class. At least Kamala Harris, whether she was a liar or not, because she never wanted to legalize cannabis, even though she always talked about decriminalizing, at least she was talking about stopping price gouging, having price gouge controls so these corporations couldn't greedflation us to death. Groceries are very expensive right now. I don't care what you say. I have to use my paycheck to buy them. And I know what I used to pay. No, you're going to leave them alone. You can't. You can't. They're babies. They're baby hyenas, and you're a big hyena, okay? And it's just not fair, okay? That's just the deal. That's how it's going to be, and I'm sorry you don't like it. Gob, again, your whole thing is just fear. Do you know any trans people? Do you, Gob? Like, the fact that you think that in a day and age where our homeowner purchase, the home purchasing age went from 21 to 38, and you think anything has to do with that is beyond me. In the land of the free, you're free to be who you want, or at least you should be. And the fact that you're focused on that while they're talking about moving the retirement age up and not taxing billionaires is crazy. We have different priorities, much different, you know, because you're going off propaganda that people are fear-stoking into you, and I'm going off of what is happening in America right now, you know. Donald Trump has emboldened corporations, their CEOs, to do whatever they want. He's gutted the NLRB. He just, if you care about kids, the special needs part of the Department of Education just got gutted. Don't hear you getting upset over that, you know? So you're not presenting real arguments in good faith. You don't care about Americans. You care about your one specific issue that Ben Shapiro and Tim Pool told you to care about, and it scared you so much that somehow you think if that gets fixed, all of a sudden billionaires will be taxed? The working class will be able to afford health care and rent and groceries? Again, I don't understand how you're making all this correlate, but okay. Again, it's a stupid gob is a knob. Well, and there it is. Yeah, he gets all his information from the Heritage Foundation, which, by the way, you know, those people are hypocrites, man. They're blatant, malicious hypocrites. They don't care about this. They want you engaged in a culture war. They want to tell you about the green M&M and what's happening with bathrooms and women in sports. And most of us are like, oh yeah, I watched Mighty Ducks 1 and 2. It turned out fine. In fact, they won. It was cool. Disney was fine with it. And now because all you sensitive people are like, oh my God, do you hear what's happening to the kids? It's like, I'm too busy, not able to afford groceries to give a shit about people's freedoms that apparently really affects you, even though you don't know any trans people when you're not trans. Rob, Gob is a clanker. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Wait, why won't it let me heart your thing? There we go. There we go. Yeah, they're just, they're just, it's garbage. They're meant to infiltrate spaces like this to try to derail from what's really going on. And what's really going on in America is, did you see this? Representative of Ohio, Dave Taylor, and you see this flag? I told you. What did I tell you? Hey, what did I tell you? You don't get to do that. That is too rough for a little guy. That is too rough. You don't get to do that. You're in timeout again. You see this? And there's a good contingent of supporters of this, even though like my grandfather fought against these people. And then when I tell them that, they go, well, your grandfather is probably still right. I come from a long line of people who were fighting racism. I don't know if you know who John Brown is. That's my cousin. So you could say all you want about being racist and wanting to make it the status quo again, or how with certain sects of, disenfranchised white male youths it is, but I will always stand against it. I don't care what you say. This is fucking wrong, and it shouldn't have any place in America. Plus, your leader has a neck nosy. Your leader has a neck nosy. I mean, look at this. Cover that up, my guy. My guy, there might be kids watching. My children might have to look at the president. I don't want them to see that. That is wildly inappropriate. That is wildly inappropriate. Hold on. So, this article. You need to behave if you're going. Behave. Cats, they're anarchists. John Brown is a legend. 100%. So this article, I encourage you all to read, linked it down below. It talks about how all this regime is trying to do is normalize you to this violence. When a regime wants to turn the police powers of the state with all the brutality and violence they can legally wield against its political opponents, they never start with the members of the opposition party, but it always ends up there, be it Germany in the 30s, or today's Russia, Hungary, China, Turkey, Iran, etc. Hitler didn't start by arresting and imprisoning lawmakers for supporting of the Social Democratic Party, the Center Party, or the Communist Party, even though all three major German parties openly and outspokenly opposed the Nazis. A year before Nazis began attacking union leaders, the working class, and socialists, to dispel all those people who are like, it's the Nazi Socialist Party. Oh, do you believe that North Korea is a democratic republic too? Fucking tools. 5 years before attacking Jewish-owned stores, the Nazis came for the trans people. In 1930, they instituted pioneered the first gender-affirming surgery in modern Europe. Its director compiled the largest library of books and specific papers on LGBTQ plus spectrum in the world, and it was internationally recognized in the field of sexual and gender studies. So anyways, then it goes into, the first book burning was about gender studies. Now you see why Gob has bought hook, line, and sinker old Nazi propaganda that Trump is regurgitating, that Stephen Miller, unelected, just appointed, not voted on by anyone, is pushing for these white, insecure men to gobble up, hook, line, and sinker. They got him on the hook. He's done for. You see him in here regurgitating all this stuff, I'm sure he's fine with book burning. He's fine with all this stuff. And this is what they've already done. This is why it's important to understand history, all because, Gob thinks like, hey, if there's a bathroom that says family, that shouldn't exist, even though it did way before I knew about it. Even though this all exists way before he knew about it, But no, this is the new fight in 2025, even though we're talking about 1933. Gob is convinced, this is the new fight. This is how society falls. Oh, really? Just like Hitler said in 1933? And he got a bunch of people to burn books. You don't see you're being played? You don't see you're being played? Okay, buddy. Okay. Well, we're not going to buy it. We're not going to fall for it. And what we're going to do is educate and inform people and joke the fuck out of people. Because after this, they established the legal precedent for dragging people from their homes and imprisoning them. Then they began arresting members of the non-Nazi party and their followers. But he had to, shit, I took pictures of it wrong. But first, he knew he had to get Germans used to the idea of authorities of state kicking indoors and dragging people screaming onto the streets. Is that what it is? Onto the street. So you understand what's happening. This has happened before, and they're normalizing it to you. It's good. It's all on video evidence for the day we have the new tribunals and we get to prosecute these people who signed up for this, who gave their name and information to sign up to violate human rights laws. It's good that we have them on video so we can use those in the trials. But it's also, part of it is for some people, not for me. I see it and it's horrific to watch a kid walking home from school being detained, these grown ass men. They're not approaching her saying, hey, we're with this, here are your rights, da 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 da, any kind of normal due process, but they're just confiscating, kidnapping. It looks like a kidnapping. 2 kids. And those videos, not to me, again, I don't know how you feel, but not to me. This will never be normal to me. Watching grown men kidnap kids, especially when I go, I really want to, if I'm ever seeing this, witness to this, I'm going to scream, these people are kidnapping a child for Epstein's friend. Jeff Epstein's best friend is having them kidnap kids. I don't know how people are normalized to this, but Donald Trump is all over the Epstein files. Donald Trump said he was good friends with Epstein. Donald Trump told these people to kidnap kids. Epstein's friend is having them kidnap kids. This should be concerning to everybody. But for some people, these videos, what is happening, it's normalizing. They're just getting used to it. And some people are writing it off as, well, they should have came here the right way, even though some of these people are Americans. Or they say, well, they should have da-da-da-da-da-da. And whatever you're thinking, you can't claim that for a kid, number one. Number two, well, I would say number one, due process is afforded to everybody in America. Don't have to be an American. You just got to be in America. It's a thing we've had. But also, are criminals really hanging outside of Home Depot? Are they really going into courts for their pathway process? Are they really being kidnapped off their jobs? Because if they are, this is the other thing that I don't understand. When ICE kidnaps somebody from their job, why isn't the boss taken? If the boss is hiring a known criminal or hiring whatever you want to call it, why aren't these bosses being held accountable? Because the criminal didn't hire himself, the immigrant didn't hire himself, whatever you want to classify it again. This is hypothetical. But it makes no sense that they would take the worker. They should go right after the bosses and all the bosses, because the boss will just turn around and hire again. And without punishing the person who's doing this, it makes no sense. Hey, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? What did I say? Do you not speak English? Parlez-vous français? God, I feel like my art teacher in elementary school. Do I have to speak Swahili to you? Because I only know so much of that language. God damn. Yeah, I wouldn't, here's some wisdom I learned over the years. When someone proves that what comes out of their mouth is just verbal diarrhea and they're just trying to obfuscate the truth, I would pay no attention to them. Gob probably doesn't have many friends, so he comes to troll live streams. And his attention is what he thrives on. And if you take that away, just like if they stop putting cameras in front of Trump and stop letting him lie to the American public, man, that would make him mad. But they gotta sell advertising, so they don't. All you pedo pan supporters can keep running your mouth, but you're wrong in your beliefs. If you support ICE, you're wrong. There's no two sides on this. You're anti-American. You support no due process, the eradication of due process. You support kidnapping of kids off the streets. Let's be very clear on this. You cannot wipe this away. You cannot try to say, well, it's because. There is no but. There is a proper process if you even want to go through this, and it's not kidnapping kids off the street. Okay? Oh, I just explained it. But it's okay. Some people, are limited in their intelligence. And that's why they fell for Donald Trump. Remember, I got to play this for you because you might have forgotten. Or maybe you didn't hear it. Well, here's this one.
Educated, I love the poorly educated.
Yep. Yep. But the better one,
There's a lot of stupid people in this country running things.
Donald Trump just said the other day, there's stupid people running things. Who do you think's running things in this country? Isn't that funny? Where is my... No, you gotta stop. Where is it? It's down here somewhere. Oh, here it is, sorry.
Smart people don't like me. Smart people don't like me.
Donald Trump said smart people don't like him. For all of you that still like Pedo Pan, I'm speaking directly to you. You're going to get your little moment of attention. For all you who support President Nussy, you see that? That's a Nussy. For all of you. I don't watch the young turds. The young turds. Those are just liberal fascists. Are you kidding me?
Smart people don't like me.
For all of you who still support Donald, President-elect Nussy, Donald says you're not smart. If you like Donald,
Smart people don't like me.
he says smart people don't like him. I don't know how many days old you were when you realized he called you stupid, but...
Smart people don't like me. Smart people don't like me. Smart people don't like me. Smart people don't like me.
Smart people don't like Donald Trump. Smart people don't like Donald Trump. Not my words.
Smart people don't like me. Smart people don't like me. Smart people don't like me.
Smart people don't like Donald Trump. Now, because smart people don't like Donald Trump, the people that like Donald Trump might not have understood that. What he's saying is dumb people like me. I know it was like a riddle. It was like a Rubik's Cube. It was like you looking at a Wordle. It was like you trying to read, a 7th grade book. Hey, what'd I say? Pause off. Pause up. Don't shoot. Smart people don't like him. That's what Donald said. And he understands that. That's why he says all the lies he does. That's why he's like, the Epstein files don't exist. Go tell him, Pam Blondie. He said, I'll release him on Fox News. And then he got to be president. He said, send the FBI to black my name out and it don't exist. Remember when he said, there's no birthday card I've never doodled in my life. Remember that? He said, I hadn't even drawn or doodled in my life. And then Ghislaine Maxwell's people said, here's the card, here's the proof. And you were confronted with that. And you said, I will choose to not believe the truth. And Donald Trump said,
Smart people don't like me.
ooh, smart people don't like me. So dumb people do. Just understand that. The dude that you like said smart people don't. He dissed you to your face. And you still do his work for him. Minions. Meanwhile, there's real issues. Real issues that we're pushing for. We're going to overturn Citizens United. Maine has already had a win on this. And not only Maine has had a win on this, but I want you to pay attention to...
And the enemy is the oligarchy.
Graham Plattner, amazing dude, running for Senate in Maine to unseat Susan Collins. If you're in Maine, look up Graham Plattner. In the land of the free, a woman should have a right to choose. Limit SCOTUS, no more electoral college, outlaw gerrymandering, ranked choice voting, fair elections, universal health care, ban stock trading, cap congressional salary. Congress has raised their wages twice, while they let the federal minimum wage sit at $7.25 since 2009, almost 2 decades. While they knew the 6 figures they made wasn't enough to survive, so they voted to give themselves a raise, while Republicans did not allow the minimum wage federally to go up. In case you're wondering, yes, states still do use that. Right above me, in the free or die state, New Hampshire, they pay $7.25. Cap CEO pay 35 times. Right now, CEOs are making 1,400 and something times the average employee. If you're wondering what has changed, because I read that stuff about the 1930s Germany and how there was gender studies and all this stuff back then. In the year of our Lord 2025, if you're concerned about bathrooms or gender or whatever, that's from the 30s. Like, that was propaganda from the 30s. You've bit that hook, line, and sinker. That's why they don't want you educated. That's why smart people don't like Trump. Because we go, oh, you already tried this trick, in your past life as neck nussy tyrant. The only thing that has truly changed, and you can look this up, you all have a little pocket computer, is how much CEOs make and how little they're taxed. Their companies, their billion, trillion-dollar companies, are hardly taxed if they even pay taxes. Meanwhile, SpaceX, Elon Musk, $500 billion, gets government subsidies. He gets our tax money. I don't know how we allow this. But the only thing that's changed, because it's not gender studies, it's not family bathrooms. Go watch Mighty Ducks 1 and 2. Girls were in the guys' locker room. Nobody gave a shit. We weren't frat snowflakes back in the 90s. Mrs. Doubtfire was in drag. Nobody was uproarious testing the movie, saying it was teaching their kids whatever. You want to teach your kids something? Why don't you show them how you live, Donald Trump? 3 wives, cheated on all of them, moved on girls like a bitch, and didn't even get there? That's how they're learning this shit. Not from somebody reading to them. But that's all played out, man. That's old news. If you know history, you know that. The real thing that's changed is CEOs used to make about 20 to 1, 25 to 1, maybe 30 to 1 with their median employee make. Now they make 1,400 to 1. The CEO of Starbucks makes 6,666 to 1. Okay? The CEO at Starbucks makes $46,000 an hour. In 1 hour, he makes what it takes them 2-3 years to make at the company. And nobody's complaining about that. Maybe you didn't know, maybe the media, of course, isn't going to tell you this, but that's what's changed. The consolidation of wealth at the top. In the news last week, they were just talking about how Elon Musk has now $500 billion while he gets government tax money, our tax money, to float his companies. That's what's changed. That's what's bad. When they absorb all the wealth and they buy up all the assets. That's why we have corporate landlords. That's why people have to rent now. There's no more communities. They don't buy homes. This is the real problem. You want to address stuff after about taking people's freedoms. Okay, we'll address your fascist fears later. You need control over everybody. You need control over a woman's right to choose. We get it. Let's see you quote the Bible where Jesus says, if you even lust looking at a woman, that's cheating, and you should gouge out your eye. I like to see that, anybody quote that instead of talking about, look at this.
I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there.
Oh, yeah, what does the Bible say about that? You don't want to read about what Jesus says about that before you say, oh, conservative values, da-da-da. Bro, just shut up. Go look up the last 2 grinder crashes, This is when Republicans are in town. And here's the thing. Us leftists are saying you should be free to be who you want, as long as you ain't harming kids. Pedo pan, neck nussy. But the only thing that's changed, besides the amount of hypocrisy coming from the right wing, and the left has hypocrisy too, don't worry. But that I wouldn't consider as nearly as bad. Like when they say we're going to decriminalize cannabis and then they just don't. It was just a hook, line, and sinker thing. That's bad too. But the other one, restricting people's freedoms, no do right. Hey, what did I tell you? Psst, pause up. The only thing that changed is the consolidation of wealth, the wealth inequality. Go look at the tax rate, 50s, 60s in America for corporations or for individuals, I forget which. It was 70 to 90%. Now they pay almost nothing, almost nothing. And their consolidation of wealth means you're not competing. It's always so funny when people are like, the problem is immigrants. The poorest people who have no control over the economy, that's the problem? Are you sure it's not the CEOs laying people off while they give themselves huge compensation packages and don't pay their employees enough to survive off of one job? Hey, what? You are being a terror right now. Because the problem is the CEOs laying people off and not paying people enough when they say they're job creators. Really? Let's hold them to account. Can you work that one job and survive? Buy a home, get educated, have good health, go on recreation. Minimum wage should be raised, you know? These are the real issues, and anybody saying anything else, you're distracting. Go to Tim Pool's thing. I'm sure today he'll say the green M&M is not as sexy as we want, and that's woke, you know, or whatever he says. I don't know. But I want you to think. I'm going to plant the seed. Every time Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro tell you something, I want you to ask, well, where does this end up? Does the green M&M that they want to be sexy again, does that guaranteed parental leave? Does that make healthcare more affordable? Does that bring the age of the average home buyer down from 38 years old to 21? Because if not, they're just distracting you. They're wasting your time. It's brain rot. Oh, some people don't understand. I know you think you took a Econ 101 class, but it doesn't matter. Right now, no job in America is a good job unless you're a CEO. I need you to understand this. They've kept you underpaid, overworked, and undereducated, so you think there's some supply and demand thing. It's all bullshit. It is all bullshit. I need you to understand that even people who are qualified, high-earning people, we played it. Hold on. You are done. You are done, miss. No. You are done. You're just being mean right now. You're just being a little bully. We don't like bullies. Even people like I played last week, a dude with a doctorate who said he was making $60 an hour. And he said, and it's almost unaffordable for me. So you need to understand the whole system, how CEOs have donated to Trump to buy off his undoing of the NLRB, workers' protections, workers' rights. Watch when your healthcare jumps up, when the rates go up. It doesn't matter what you get paid if you have to pay an arm and a leg or go into debt to keep your health okay. This should be a human right, a basic one. Every other country figured this out, but America is profiting mightily off of it. And it's usually immigrant CEOs. That's the ironic part. You know, you want to talk about immigrants, illegal immigrants, but you don't talk about Elon Musk, who's from South Africa, came here illegally. Illegally. And those aren't my words. Again, this is not me saying this. This is his brother.
They realized that we were illegal immigrants.
Illegal immigrants, Kimball Musk. Why aren't you focused on ICE getting Elon Musk, who's a union buster, racist, out of the country? He's an illegal immigrant. Why don't you care about that? Because he's not brown? Your racism is showing. You could tuck it back in. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's good to see those who come and add to the conversation, and to the people distracting. At least it's on record, you know. Because in a year, 2 years, whenever we have the tribunals and these people are held accountable, you know, Peter Pan thinks he can get away with this forever. Stop. Old neck nussy. Look at this dude. Kids are looking at the president. You gotta hide that dude. That neck nussy. Children might be watching. Please put that away. That's gross. Cover that up. Put a thong on or something. But people will be held to account. We, the people, are gonna make it happen. No one's coming to save you. These people don't care about you. Left and right, wings of the same bird. We, the people, are going to. We're going to make the people who are abusing children accountable. We're going to make the people doing crimes We're going to make the racists accountable again. We're going to make this world okay for everybody, even if you have a disability. We're going to make freedom mean that, you know? We're going to do it. It's going to take some work, and we got to come together. But we can do it. So join the community, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You join me when I go live every single weekday. And for those distracting, for those who keep trying to distract, we see through you, you know? Remember, what did he say?
Smart people don't like me.
Smart people don't like him. So the people who don't like Trump are smart. The people who like him are dumb. So when you try to distract with, wow, there's a gender-neutral bathroom, we go, we don't give a shit, man. We got bigger fish to fry, you know? Is that gonna, help our healthcare premiums go down? Is that gonna bail out the libertarian fascist regime in Argentina? Like, and you're fighting this battle against a wall, man. You want to restrict people's rights more, claiming it in the name of freedom? Okay. Hit subscribe and the notification bell. Much love, much respect. We're going to hold these people accountable. We're gonna take this country back from the Nepo baby nussies. Peace.